時々みんな on a day like this, when the sun's out, the weather's nice, I just like to sit back, have a nice pipe, そしてだけくつろぐ。はい。マジで。
Oh, hi Gemini, it's me, your friend Brian.
殿、会ったことある。
I gotta talk to you about something real quick. You see, I've been watching your reviews for quite some time, and
I really like them. I'm loving low-budget gaming and the Let's Plays.
I think you're really talented. You're a really unique voice in the gaming world, and I think you're one of the classiest people online. And it's because I like you so much, Gemini, that I want to issue you a challenge.
You see, I've seen a lot of reviewers come and go online, and the same thing happens to all of them. Either because they want to please the big video gaming websites, or please the big labels so they'll get free stuff, or they just have that pursuit of the almighty dollar from kickbacks. And you and I know what happens.
They lose their fastball. They get soft.
And I don't want that to happen to you. You see, Gemini, I've been watching your reviews, and while they are great, you've only really torn into one truly awful video game.
Don't take all night.
Now, I know the seventh guest is mind-scarring, but
I think the therapy sessions have gone remarkably well, and you can face another bad game. Now, if you check the inbox on your email account, you'll find a link to the Steam store to one of the worst video games ever made. A game so unique in its crapulence
that it almost destroyed the legacy of one of the most famous video game designers who ever lived.
It is a game still spoken of in hushed tones, an ultimate example of hubris in the gaming world.
I want to see you tear this one apart. Because, Gemini, if you can do that, you will prove to myself and all of your wonderful fans
that you have got what it takes to face the worst that gaming has to offer. And of course, by appreciating the ugliness, we can all appreciate the beauty. Besides, I'd love to see you rip this one to pieces. So, Gemini, that is my challenge.
And I know you will rise up to it as you have done on so many other times. Anyway, I hope you like what I said to you. And good luck, Gemini. I think you're going to need it.
Well, so much for relaxing. I guess we better go see what this guy sent me. Alright, what exactly is this guy's challenge anyway? It's definitely not going to be as bad as the seventh guest, I'll tell you that right now. I mean, nothing could possibly be as bad. Oh. Konnichiwa mina, 俺は Gemini. Among the general gaming populace, Daikatana holds the title of being one of the worst video games ever made. Now, truth be told, I actually stumbled across it some time ago while looking for games to play for this show, but upon hearing about its reputation, I passed it up, thinking it wouldn't make for a good episode. But it seems some among you think differently. and would like me to find out just how crappy this game is. Who am I to say no to a fan? Well, I suppose we should talk a little bit about the game's background and the story before the evisceration begins, so here goes. John Romero's involved and the story sucks. What, you want more? Fine. Let me get the game loaded up and I'll tell you all about it.
Oh, that's not going to get annoying at all. For those that don't know, John Romero is the man behind such classics as Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and Quake, and Daikatana was supposed to be his next big thing. There was even a controversial print ad launched for the game, which Romero later regretted and apologized for. Development for the game began in 1997, with release planned for Christmas that year, but due to hardware changes and subsequent rewrites to the game, as well as a bit of behind-the-scenes drama, the release date was pushed back several times, and the game finally hit shelves almost 3 years later. In the year 2455, Master Sword instructor Hiro Miyamoto is approached by an old fart by the name of Toshiro Ebihara. Ebihara proceeds to tell a story about how he used to be incredibly rich and the world today is not as it should be. You know, typical old fart ramblings. He then goes on to talk about how long ago, Osaka Mishima, the head of the evil Mishima clan, approached Miyamoto's ancestor Usagi and had him craft a powerful sword with which Mishima could once and for all eradicate his rival clan, the Ebiharas, Toshiro's ancestors. This, I'm sure you've guessed by now, was the Daikatana. Except, upon completion, the sword ended up being so powerful that Usagi was able to foresee just how crappy things would be in the world should Mishima get his grubby little mitts on it. So instead, he gives it to the head of the Ebihara clan, Ishiro, who wipes out the Mishimas. At Usagi's request, the sword is returned to him, and he throws it into the heart of a volcano so that no one can wield it ever again. Flash forward to today, and guess what? Someone's wielding it again. See, old fart Ebihara, back when he was apparently Donald Trump Ebihara, funded an expedition to retrieve the Daikatana from the heart of the volcano, because nothing bad could ever come from that. Except that it did. Because Kage, the current head of the Mishimas, stole it and changed the destiny of the world using the Daikatana's time travel capabilities. Usagi apparently imbued the power to time travel into the sword. Because of course he did. What was this guy, a Time Lord as well as a swordsmith? Anyway, Toshiro sends you on a quest to retrieve the Daikatana and to find his daughter Mikiko, who went to spy on Kage and hasn't been seen since. Not gonna lie, the graphics are not the best I've seen. Probably didn't help that the resolution was set to 640 by 480 by default, so I tried increasing it and ran into two problems. One, the game won't run in full screen on my laptop in some of the higher resolutions, despite the option still being clickable. Two, higher resolutions didn't help that much, the game is still ugly as sin. Plus, I found the game tends to crash at some points in the lower resolutions. Controls work just like you'd expect for a shooter. Actually, work is probably the wrong term. They're standard for an FPS, and movement in particular is fine for the most part, but it goes downhill when you, well, go downhill. If you're going down any kind of incline and you try to stop mid-incline, you start sliding all over the place until you get to the bottom. In fact, once or twice I didn't even stop sliding then, and felt like I was playing Rise of the Triad on Elasto mode for a while until the controls decided to behave again. Let's talk about the weapons for a bit. The very first one you'll pick up is the Ion Blaster.
Ah, the Ion Blaster. Let me count the ways that I hate thee.
This is an incredibly stupid weapon and should not be used under any circumstances. Firstly, its shots ricochet, which wouldn't be too much of a problem if it weren't for the fact that the shots hurt you as well. Also, firing it underwater causes damage to you each time you shoot. What makes that even more infuriating is that it doesn't seem to affect the enemies in the same way. So you can't, for instance, just stand on shore and fire randomly into the water and hurt any enemies, unless your shot just happens to hit one. Then there's this weapon, which launches C4 explosives. They stick to whatever they land on, and if it's an enemy, it'll explode. If it hits a wall or the floor, it waits for an enemy or you to get in range, then explodes. Yep, yet another weapon that can hurt you. In fact, I think just about all of them can. You can also detonate the mines from afar by shooting it with another weapon, providing just about the only use I can see for the Ion Blaster. One key feature of the game that was hyped about quite a lot was the inclusion of sidekicks. The first of which is Superfly Johnson. Make of that name what you will. You can use certain hotkeys to give your sidekicks commands like go here, stay put, attack, and so forth. In theory. In practice, there's no point to them being in the game, as the AI of the sidekicks is, well, non-existent is the best way I can put it. If an enemy is present, they will invariably go in with guns blazing, no matter what you tell them, and you better hope you're not in between a sidekick and an enemy when said guns begin blazing, because guess what? There's friendly fire in the game. You can get hurt by your sidekick's weapons as well as your own. Also, your sidekicks do not have infinite health, and if it goes to 0, they won't just lay around on the ground waiting for the battle to end to get up. They're dead. They're gone. You might think, fine, I'll just carry on without them. Not so fast. Most likely for story reasons, you need your sidekicks to get past some of the levels. And if you don't have them, then you, Ore no Tomo, are screwed. Because there's no respawning them, and if you restart the level, they won't restart with you. So you'll probably want to be hoarding those save gems so you can save in those dangerous areas. Oh, sorry, didn't I mention that? Yeah, by default, you can't save whenever you want. No. The developers thought it would be a good idea to just arbitrarily limit the number of times you could save with these. Save gems. Saving your game costs one of these. Why? Just about any FPS I can think of since Wolfenstein has the option to save whenever you want. Well, thankfully, there's a workaround for both the save gems and the sidekicks. The solution to the save gem problem just makes the problem itself that much more infuriating. All you have to do is go into the options and click Unlimited Saves. So, again, if that's there, why are we even bothering with the save gems? And if you're finding sidekicks infuriating to deal with, try starting a multiplayer game. Now once you click Start a Multiplayer Game, change the mode to Cooperative. This allows you to play through the game's story without the need for sidekicks.
And once I found out about the workaround for the sidekicks, I was able to continue playing the game with relatively no problem. Until this happened. The game crashed on me. Now by this point I had pretty much had enough of the game, and this was before I had started fiddling with the resolution options. But the game is divided into 4 episodes, each of which takes place in a different time period, and I hadn't even gotten out of episode 1 yet. I did still want to see what the other episodes were like before I totally gave up on the game, so I used a level skip cheat to play the first bits of each of the remaining episodes, just for my own curiosity.
Episode 2 is set in ancient Greece, and there are 2 things I noticed immediately. 1, the environment is nowhere near as dull and ugly as that of episode 1. I didn't say it wasn't ugly, just that it wasn't as ugly. Secondly, not only do the enemies change, but so do your weapons and the pickups. Now, that, I'll admit, I actually like. The 3rd episode is set in a plague-ridden village in 6th century Norway, and it's here that I finally started playing with the Daikatana, and I have to say, for it being such a legendary, powerful sword, I was left rather unimpressed by it. Now true, it starts out with no power in this episode, and you have to recharge it by using it to kill enemies, but it's still not that great by the time I jump to episode 4, which starts out on Alcatraz in the year 2030.
Now, until now, at the end of every episode, I would wrap up the review with some final thoughts, basically describing whether I would play the game again or if I would recommend it, but lately, I just don't feel like it's been definitive enough of a conclusion. Dakara mina, I have devised the low-budget gaming worthiness-o-meter. Hey, don't laugh. I spent several sleepless minutes coming up with that name. To the worthiness-o-meter! Behold, mina, the worthiness-o-meter. As you can plainly see, no expense has been spent on this board. And I've divided it into 3 sections, which hopefully will accurately categorize any future games that I play on this show. Let's just go over them real quick, shall we? We have worthless. There's just far too much wrong with this game. Far too many cons. The cons far outweigh the pros. There's no way I can recommend the game for you. Worth a look. Now these are games that are basically middle of the road. You know, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. I might kind of like it, but maybe you won't. Maybe you'll want to download a demo first, or watch a few minutes of video before you make a decision on the game. And then finally, we have worth every cent. There is absolutely no reason you should not be getting this game right now. Everything about it, or almost everything, is just perfect, and it'll be worth your time. Trust me. And as you can see, I've taken the liberty of proactively categorizing each of the games that I've already played for this show into the 3 sections, and I have to say, it's actually kind of surprised me where the games have ended up. I thought most of them would sort of end up in this area with maybe 1 or 2 over here and here, but it's far more even than I would have thought. But then, something that hasn't surprised me is where some of the games have ended up. I mean, over here, in Worth Every Cent, I mean, you've got some natural selections, like Aquaria, Contradiction, that kind of thing, and then over here in the worthless section, you've got games like Out There Somewhere and, you know, that one. So, after all that, where does Daikatana go on this board? Please, do I really have to beat around the bush on this one? You know where this is going. Daikatana wa zettai ni kudaranai. It goes here. Now let's just review some of the pros and cons with this game, or in this case, more accurately, the cons. Something that I haven't touched on yet, the game has no map. Something else Daikatana decided to do differently from, oh, I don't know, every other FPS out there. The sidekicks are dumb as bricks, or at least Superfly is, because he's the only one I've played with, but I assume the other one is as well. The save gems, again, there's absolutely infuriating, even more so because there's no point to them with the option for unlimited saves in the options menu. And there's far too many other cons. I'll have them listed on the screen to go into, but yeah. Daikatana, for me, is a game whose reputation preceded it, and having played it, I can definitively say that it is a reputation well earned. Well, special thanks to my friend Brian who suggested the game for me and who helped me out with the intro to the episode. You wanted to see me tear it to pieces? Well, I hope I've left it well and truly shredded for you. If any of you have a game you'd like to see me play, then absolutely feel free to leave a comment and let me know, or hit me up with a message on the Facebook or the Twitter page, and let me know what you want to see me play. Jikai made! Sayonara!
Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you thought of my new rating system for the games and of the show in general by leaving me a comment and maybe even a like and a share while you're in the neighborhood. Maybe. I don't know. Up to you. Anyway, if you want to see my thoughts on some of the games on that new worthiness-o-meter, I've got links to a couple of random ones on the screen, or you can click the top link to just take a look at the whole playlist for low-budget gaming. And as always, I invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and follow me on Facebook and Twitter as well, so you can keep up to date on just what's going on around this neck of the internet.